Hey, Coach. Thanks for taking the time today. We'll
Thanks.
get started here with Ruben Frank and then Tim McManus.
Hey, Nick. I wanted to ask you about Hassan Ridgway. And obviously, you guys caught him a couple weeks ago, brought him back. He's a guy you're familiar with from Indy. How did that go when you had to tell him he was released, or when you spoke with him after that? What was your message to him, and how did he respond? And obviously, how he played yesterday.
Yeah, it's obviously I'll keep the entire conversation private, just any conversation I have with any player private. But he was it's all anytime you cut somebody, that's always hard. And he was we knew we were going to need him, and we knew we wanted him back on the team. And so he was awesome. He's ready to go, and he's just got that ability to move on and play on. And he really helped us out yesterday over there in Atlanta.
Tim and then Rob Motti.
Hey, Nick, can you give us an injury update real quick? Ertz, Epps, JJ, and anybody else who we may have missed?
Yeah, sure. JJ's ankle, he's day-to-day. Zach's hamstring, we were just being cautious there. He obviously came back in and played. We're still evaluating through with him. Marcus is still in the concussion protocol.
Go ahead, Rob, and then Mike K.
Hey, Nick, after such a convincing victory yesterday against Atlanta, how do you make sure that the guys bring the same energy, same preparation, and avoid a letdown?
Yeah, Rob, you can't just – we've been kind of talking about dog mentality over and over and over again, and so dog mentality isn't just, when we talked about it yesterday at the press conference, dog mentality is just not like, hey, I made a good play here, so I'm playing the next play, right? That's part of it, right? Or, hey, I made a bad play here, and I'm playing the next play and having this short memory, right? It's also a week-to-week thing. It's a day-to-day thing, right? So if I think about on Wednesday when we come back out here, if I think about Wednesday how we played well in the Atlanta game, then I'm going to get my butt kicked this upcoming Sunday. So it is just living in the moment of what you're in there. And so we talk about dog mentality. We really talk about, I know I probably sound like a broken record with it saying, hey, we just want to get better every day. And that truly is the goal. It's not, that's something I'm saying to the players too. I say always a good coaching point this is what I always say to the players. Always a good coaching point is when you know what I'm about to say after you do something, or good or bad. So it's the same thing here. We truly live in the moment of how are we going to get better today? How are we going to leave this building better today than we were yesterday? Well, if you're constantly thinking about the past, or you've got a big ego based off of how you played and not thinking about that, you won't do that. So it's just me reminding them, but I think also, they innately have this ability to do that as well. We talk about it all the time. Players talk about it all the time. We got our shirts, right? We got our dog mentality shirts, and so we're just, that's us. Just how we kind of go about it. So it's my job as a coach to make sure that importance of no letdowns happens. But in all honesty, we won one game, we got to go out there and we got to do it again. That's what good teams do. They win. They come out on the field every Sunday ready to play, regardless of what happened the game before.
Mike and then Jeff McLean.
Hey, Nick, you brought up the pre-snap penalties last night. That was kind of your one thing that you took away negatively from the game. How do you go about enforcing the need to kind of monitor your surroundings and not jump the gun, I guess, on the offensive line or the defensive line when you want guys to be so aggressive and have that dog mentality?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between aggressive out of control and aggressive while playing within the rules of the game, right? And obviously, at all points, we want to be mean, we want to be physical, we want to be aggressive while still playing completely under control. And that's the ability of a good football player, really, to be honest with you. Hey, how do we do all these things that we just talked about, but completely out of control, but completely in control? Pardon me, right? There's an art to that, and so. and that's just being disciplined with everything that you're doing, and we talk about mastering the things that require no talent. If you can master the things that require no talent that other teams get beat on, right? And we talk about this all the time. Master the things that require no talent, so your talent overtakes and your talent shines. And so that's one of those things as well. We just got to hone in our energy and hone in our want to about going out there and getting a good get off, and but while still playing within the rules.
Go ahead, Jeff, and then Mike Sealski.
Nick, after watching the tape, what was your assessment of how Jalen handled the blitz and how his feel in the pocket and keeping his eyes down the field and his movements there when he was pressured?
Man, I thought he did a really good job there. He did an excellent job. We turned a couple things free that we were getting corrected today, and Jalen just was able to have this quick movement to get out of it. Like there's a couple times like, hey, Jalen, on this coverage, on this play, I want your eyes over here, all right? And there was a guy blitzing over here, and he felt, and he went out. So she kind of showed he really showed good instincts of just and good feel. Like I see the structure of the defense. I'm not really looking at, but I'm feeling it. And so he got us out of a couple binds that we made a couple mistakes on yesterday. And so I really thought he handled that well, of how he handled the blitz well. And while still, I thought he really did a good job of running it when he was supposed to and throwing it when the defense allowed, be that passer first and then go and run. And so, I was really pleased with how he handled the pressures, and they brought a lot of different things at us.
Go ahead, Mike, and then Zach Berman.
Nick, a similar kind of question. What did the film show you about the offensive line? There were a couple of plays that seemed to stand out, a block that Jordan Mailata threw on the Rager touchdown, a couple of blocks by Jason Kelsey on a Sanders run. What did you think of overall the offensive line's play?
Yeah, I thought they played a really good game. They were really able to show some dominance in the run game, to be, of how they were coming off and working some double teams, and that just showed up over and over again in our run game. And then I thought the pocket was very sound for a majority of the game. The one sack that we had, we had to kind of move around and somebody wasn't open down. We weren't open downfield. Give credit to the defense. They made a good play, and then we had to move around and try to go, and that's how the sack came. So really pleased with the offensive line of how they played. Not surprised. I know that this is the unit that that determines whether you win or lose games, because that's just where games are won up front on the offense and defensive line. So really pleased with how they played, and that block, like you're mentioning, that Jordan had on Jalen's touchdown, that was a really big time play. The other things you don't see is Jason Kelsey wrapping around and stopping the defensive end from kind of peeling back and making the play. And so it was just a good all-around play. Jalen making a good read. Jalen Rager making a good read of the block, being in complete control when he caught the ball, and you really saw his acceleration there. So just good all-around play right there, but that definitely was a big-time hit by Jordan. I can't imagine that felt too good for the safety.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Ed Kratz.
Hey, Nick, speaking about Jordan, he got that contract extension on Saturday. What did you know about him before you took the job? What have you learned about him in these past few months? And what kind of ceiling do you see in these next few years?
What I knew about Jordan is we did bring him into Indy when we were there for that pre-draft work. And so we knew how big of I just remember our strength coach was like, this guy is a huge man. And obviously that's very obvious, but he had a ton of muscle mass and like something that they'd never seen before or ever. And so we were all kind of salivating over him and the potential that he had. But that's what it was. It was potential, right? It wasn't like you turned on South Carolina, Clemson, and you're like, look at this guy block. It was all potential. So ton of credit goes to obviously Jordan for developing himself into a player that gets a type of contract like this, and also his position coach, Jeff Stoutland. I mean, and so when you get a player that has good character, that really likes football, you know what, with Jordan, I'm not even sure that he knew he liked football until he got around Stout and got around playing, and that's tough because he's tough, right? then he can reach his potential. And Jordan has, as like we all said, is potential. He had potential coming out, and he's just done a good job of maximizing it. And he's a young player. We still think he's got his arrow still pointing up.
Go ahead, Ed, and then Dave Zangaro.
Yeah, Nick, the defense, those 2 red zone stops that they had, I mean, they obviously were pretty huge, but when you looked at the tape, what did anybody stand out there? Did any takeaways from those 2 red zone stops that you had there in the first half?
Yeah, the first red zone stop, I think it was the first one. Yeah, the very first one. We just got a great rush from our defensive line. There was a little spot to go with the ball, but Matt Ryan couldn't throw it on rhythm. He had to move in the pocket, and then because the whole defensive line kind of collapsed, and in particularly Javon Hargrave, he beat his man and got a rush and forced him to move in the pocket, and then everyone else kind of did too. The second one I thought it was really good coverage on the perimeter. We just had it bottled up. Even if he would have completed that ball, it would have been a bang bang, and they would have been kicking the field goal anyway. But those are huge plays. Those are huge plays that we talk about a lot. That those, we talk about as an offense, just so you kind of know, is to stay out of 3rd and long. I mean, in the red zone, right? I know that's really genius of us to stay out of 3rd and long, right? Be out of that. But it really is. But you really got to think about that in the red zone of how do you stay out of 3rd and long, because as the field shrinks. Right, as the field shrinks, 3rd and long in the red zone are even harder than 3rd and long in the field. So, that's just different coaching points we give the quarterback, offensive line in those scenarios to stay out of it. Well, the one was a 3rd and 10 from the 10. That's a hard, so they did their job on 1st down and on 2nd down to make it a really challenging thing on 3rd down. Then Javon gets the rush. And then, again, we talk about also that those are 4-point plays. When you get a 3rd and goal from wherever you are, unless the team's going for it on 4th down, I get that they could do that too. But if you're a 3rd and goal, and let's say from the 5 out, you're probably in a 4-point play. You stop them, they kick a field goal. They score, they get 7 points. So those are huge. I mean, every game it feels like comes down to the final score. And if you can get 2 of those stops in a game, man, that changes the whole course of the game too, right? If they score those 2 touchdowns, it's 15-14 at half. That's a completely different feel, and it's a different feel how the second half plays out. So, ton of credit goes to the defensive coaches and the defensive players for executing. And really, really pleased with that.
Go ahead, Dave, and then Chris Franklin.
Hey, Nick, what do you like about Kenny Gainwell and the 2-minute offense, and what did he have to show you specifically to earn that role?
Yeah, he had to show that he could protect, because we know his ability as a pass catcher. We've seen his ability as a pass catcher, and we've seen it even more, obviously, in practice and all the different drills we do and everything. And he just had to show that, if you just go in there and he's only releasing out into pass patterns, well, you might as well have another wideout in there, right? If he's not going to block. So we had to make sure, we had to feel comfortable that he was a complete player there before we put him out there. Does he still have things to work on? Absolutely. He's going to be the first one to tell you he's still got to work on some things. But, he wants some back that he had yesterday, but he had a couple big-time plays in protection as well. And so that's what he had to show to earn his right out there. And so we felt like he did that. And you can see he made a couple plays for us in that 2-minute drive yesterday. Had a really good heads up. I think one of the early plays in the drive, he caught a ball. He got 9 yards and was savvy enough to get out of bounds to stop the clock so we could keep going and get that touchdown at the end of that half, which was a huge, huge swing for us to get that touchdown at the end of the half.
All right, we have time for 2 more. So go ahead, Chris, and then Martin.
Hey, Nick, JJ, he went from having to play in the fourth preseason game to starting yesterday. I mean, how would you assess the way he played and blocked, and what was your overall thoughts of the blocking by the wide receivers as a whole?
JJ, I thought, did an excellent job yesterday blocking. He was aggressive. He was able to make some plays, kind of spring out there and for extra yards. He sprung plays. So I kind of talk about this way. If the ball gets to the wide receivers, it's because the offensive line did their job up front, right? They all did. They all were perfect, right, for the most part, right? Jalen made the right read. The tight end did his job. The 5 offensive linemen did their job. The ball got onto the perimeter. Well, the message to the receivers is, hey, when that ball gets on the perimeter, you don't ever know when that's going to happen. You never know when that's going to happen. So you got to be blocking your tails off every single time. Because when that ball gets on the perimeter and you do your job, we can turn a 10-yard run into a 20-yard run or a 30-yard run or a 40-yard run or whatever it may be. And I saw JJ do that very well and very efficiently yesterday. And, we didn't just throw him out there to do that because we didn't have a feel that he was going to do that. He's been showing us that every single day in practice, right? Again, there's so much that goes into each and every play. Like, hey, who's going to get this block on this if it does spring out like we think it's going to? JJ, right? Or whoever it may be. And so JJ did a great job with that. He'll be rewarded with catches from that. I know he wasn't yesterday, but we're going to have to marry things together. So he's getting some touches off that as well. So we have that threat to run and pass it. But I thought he did a great job. He, in particular, there's 3 blocks that come to my mind. The first 2 to Quez, the first 2 bubbles to Quez, he sprung that for extra yards. And then there was a run that Jalen had where he pinned the safety. Dallas kind of wrapped around and blocked the corner, and we got an explosive play off that. So really pleased with how he blocked. I thought the receivers as a whole blocked well. Devontae stuck out to me how he blocked, and he's tough, he's scrappy, and he'll get after you, and he'll get you covered up because he kind of had those same 2 good blocks on those first 2 plays that we just talked about as well.
Go ahead, Martin.
Hey, Nick, kind of keeping with the wide receiver theme. Obviously, a guy like Jalen Reagor, I mean, there were a lot of expectations on him last year, kind of had a down year with injuries and stuff like that. To see him respond kind of like the way he did on Sunday, how big do you think that was, not only for you as a team, but for him, personally?
Yeah, I think anytime you have a game and you start off the year like that, your confidence builds, right? You do a couple things technique-wise, you show your couple of your talents that you have, and your confidence really builds like, man, all right, I can make this play. I can make this play. So we just hope to build upon that. And, the good plays that he had, he's shown that he can really do some dynamic things when the ball's in his hands. He shows that he can really go get the ball. So, just got to keep trying to find ways to get him the football and let his talent shine.
All right. Thanks for the time today, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.